Hey everybody, JMAXICUS back at you with another challenge that has been completed. This one being the Mirror Battle Challenge. This one a little bit more difficult since you have to do the 12 wins, but you get to do it yourself. You're not with a partner, so a little bit easier in that sense. This challenge I feel was a lot more strategy involved than a draft challenge. You have to be really quick on your feet and think steps ahead as to what you're going to do. And I'm going to show you some tips that you can do in order to do that. So let's go ahead and open our chest and grab our 40k there and see what we got. Well, plus 11k, that's pretty good. Bomb tower, fire spirits, archers, flying machine, furnace, bomber, minion horde, stack full, extra gold, tombstone, and 6 free spells. So no legendary, but hey, that's okay. So yeah, I'm just going to go through some of these tips that will help you out make better decisions when you're doing this mode, so you're able to get those 12 wins and that 40k. So here are some tips that will be able to help you get your 12 wins in your challenge. Tip number 1, find your least counterable win condition early. When you get your deck, look at it. Don't try and skip past it right away. Look at your 8 cards and you want to find what your least counterable win condition is. Trying to get off a rush when you don't know the deck and the cycles that it does and the counters right away is not very favorable, especially if you don't get a certain combo off in your starting hand. So you want to take that time and find that least counterable win condition. An example of this would be if you have Graveyard and Balloon, and you also have things like Valkyrie, Princess, Skarmy, Guards, these kind of ground troops. Your most obvious win condition is going to be that balloon. So that's what you're going to want to try and stick with and try and best and counter your opponents with. So you would want to put a balloon down with a tank. You want to mirror the balloon, just anything that will get that balloon to the tower and be able to crown right away. If you can find that win condition earlier than your opponent, you're going to be off to a great start. The second tip would be to make sure you look at your starting hand and involve the 5th card that is next in the cycle. So your opening hand is really 5 cards and not 4. And with these 5 cards, you want to wait it out unless you have an uncounterable rush you can do. So an example of this would be if you start off with a giant and 3 musketeers. If you play the giant by your tower and it gets to the river, you'll have time to play the 3 musketeers and push unless they have some sort of huge counter that they can play. But those 3 musketeers are going to evaporate anything that tries to defend against that giant. So you want to wait and see what your opponent plays. Sometimes you'll have a starting hand like a hog, but then you'll also have like a Mega Knight. So you wait for them to play the hog and then you can play the Mega Knight. If you feel like you can do better at double elixir, then you wait until then. Or you play safe cards like Spawning Tower, like Goblins or Barbarian Hut, Tombstone, these kind of things. Tip number 3 is that there are very few spells involved, so make sure you save your counters and play on your cycle, not theirs. This would be if you have an example, cannon, and they have something like a battle ram. You want to save that cannon for that battle ram, not use it preemptively on like a pushing knight. And you want to make sure that your counters are saved and then you can counter push with that. If you don't save those counters, then you're going to get punished heavily. Tip number 4 is when an opponent misplays a counter early, you punish that hard. So in the previous example, I said to make sure to save your counter. So if your opponent uses the cannon early on something and you have that battle ram, you push with that battle ram, or you push with your hog, whatever it is that they have the counter for. If you have minion horde and the only counter to minion horde is princess and they use princess wrong, then you put that minion horde down and you attack. Now, there is an asterisk to this. Remember that there is mirror in all of your hands. Every time one of the 8 cards is going to be the mirror card. So if they play down a princess and they haven't played another card yet, they can play a mirror of that princess to counter your minion horde. So always keep that in mind, that they can replay that counter. So always wait until the counter has cycled out at least one card, then you punish that mistake. Tip number 5, and my final tip for your 12 wins, is that ranged units are very effective in this mode because there are such few spells involved. This would be Spear Goblins, Princess, Dark Goblin, Musketeer, and one of the best units, I think, in this mode, the Flying Machine. It has a great range, can only be stopped by something in the air or something that can target the air. So these units, especially behind a tank like a giant, are very hard to deal with. Even if you try and play a Valkyrie in the right spot, that Valkyrie can evaporate if you have a big enough horde of ranged units behind your tank. It's happened to me. I've seen it. I've done it to people a number of times. So a good win condition, if you have some sort of tank, is to build up those ranged units because they are so hard to deal with when they build up. So here I'm going to show you a mistake about when you don't look ahead at your cycle that you have. So here I have all cards that are like 4 and 3 elixir. So I was thinking if I put Hog and Bandit right away, I'd be able to get a lot of tower damage since there wasn't a good counter. But with playing Musketeer and Tesla for 10, he's able to get tremendous damage and block everything just with a full health Tesla and counter push. So because of that, this is where you have to think smart and strategically. I have to take the damage to the tower with both the Tesla, with the Bandit and Musketeer, and then counterplay. If I had tried to put the counterplay in front of that before taking tower damage, my tower would have gone down. But now I'm able to counter push with the Hog, with the Musketeer, to take down the tower with the Rage. So keep that in mind. If you do mess up and you need to take tower damage, it's okay, as long as you can get the counter push going. Here he makes a mistake. He plays at the bridge with the Tesla. Easy to distract with skeletons and hit with my own Tesla in response. So at this point, I think I probably got this in the bag because he's not going to have anything to stop this Tesla unless he goes ahead and does what I did and take tower damage to counter it. But he doesn't. Puts skeleton, puts bandits down, puts even Musketeer down, and they all die to the Sparky, and the Sparky still have to get damage off. So don't do what this guy did, do what I did. Take that tower damage and then counter push afterwards and play a card after they locked onto the tower. So that way you can prevent as much damage as possible without losing your unit and counter pushing. So this is where I found out that you have to look at the next card in the cycle as well. You don't look at your 4 card starting hand, you look at your 5 card starting hand. So here I'm going to talk more about the starting hand in this match. So I was able to see all 8 cards that I have, and I saw out of them I've got buildings, some splash units like Baby Dragon and Wizard, and then there's the E-Wiz. So from this I can see that spawners and Barbarian or Lumberjack are the way for the win conditions, as the Lumberjack is really fast and his rage combos really well with your units. So from that, I know that the Lumberjack will be able to take out the Wizard, the E-Wiz, and we'll be able to get to the tower faster if I push it against the other side from where the spawners are. So basically I want to get 2 Lumberjack and mirror it in order to counter push on the other side where my opponent plays the spawner. From this, you have to find out what your win condition is, and you have to try and make a plan to get there while you're doing this early game. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm basically going to try and throw down some units early to get them off of rotation of what I am, to put down his spawners, and then I can put down my spawners in response and then push on the other side. So just putting down the lumberjack and then the mirror lumberjack, and then he throws down a spirit goblin and an E-Wiz. I'm able to get some good damage off there. Put down my own E-Wiz in response. I'm going to go ahead and place a spawner to match his spawner, because if you let spawners get out of hand without a unit that can splash everything, it's ridiculous to try and stop it, especially with ranged units. Ranged units are really good if there are no spells in the matchup. Here there's tornado, so it's okay against the ranged units, but still not to 100% good. So here I just put down the wizard to try and stop as much of this spawner assault as I can, and he puts down a really good wizard to take out my wizard and a lumberjack. I have to put down my own lumberjack and then a baby dragon to distract this wizard, because don't want to take too much tower, but I know that I want to push that other side as soon as I can if he keeps crowding this side of his battlefield. Now I'm trying to get to that lumberjack mirror position again, and I'm going to put down my barb hut on the other side to see if he will put his barb hut on that side, so I can go push the other lane because it has more damage on it. But he decides to continue to stay on that lane, which is actually pretty good for me, because then I can defend this right lane and hope to get my win condition. And that's what you need to do. You identify that win condition early, and you make a plan to try and get there as soon as you can. So here I put both my spawners on the other side, and waiting to just put down my lumberjack and mirror lumberjack, but he has wizards, so I'm not too confident in throwing down both of them. Although I'm pretty sure it might have been able to take out that wizard, but he had to spend a lot of elixir there in order to defend. I throw down elixir to defend his lumberjack push and his baby dragon, but now I can start counter pushing on the right side in order to get my win condition. Now I have it, lumberjack and mirror lumberjack while my right side is pushing. He puts down a barbarian hut, so he tries to do an E-Wiz in response, but look at this damage I'm able to get off because he doesn't have the right defense in place, and I'm able to get the crown tower there, and then I just defend this right side. So here is a really good example of what you want to do when you see your starting hand and identify that win condition. What's going to get you that win for the game. So here I'm going to show you a matchup where your win conditions are really easily counterable. So the win condition in this game are the spawners, which can easily be mirrored, and graveyard. Now the problem with this particular mirror match is that I'm going to fast forward here actually because it is very boring. The problem with this matchup is that graveyard is countered by Valkyrie and by guards, especially when there is no poison. So in this game we are just trying to get at each other with our barbarian huts and then do a graveyard push on the other side. Now I was actually able to get some significant damage there as I didn't have a Valkyrie, as I used it to push with the graveyard. But at this point, since I got a lot of damage on the tower, I'm like, I'll just go for the draw and I'll just barbarian hut spawn the right side the entire time. If he graveyard pushes, just counter it with Valkyrie Knights, guards, and there's no way that he's going to get a W out of this. So just keep playing barbarian spawn. As you can see, it just gets ridiculous. Everything just clutters up. Tesla towers are just taking out stuff. Inferno dragons are taking out stuff without getting touched because there's so much barbarian spawn. Even the good game comes out here. So I am fine with taking the draw here since I've got more tower damage on me. And my opponent is not, and goes for a graveyard push, and we'll slow down here now. and is able to get some significant damage now on the left side. But I've got counter pushing coming on the left side now, and my right side is starting to build up more, especially since I saw that he put Tesla mirror Tesla, and he's running low on Elixir. So that means I can go graveyard mirror graveyard with my Valkyrie. As my Valkyrie distracts in the front, my graveyard skeletons take out some good damage in the back. With some optimal placements. Now he's at 445, so now I'm like, hey, I might actually be able to win this thing unless he plays super defense with Barbarian Hunt. So I just throw everything down for the counter. He didn't play graveyard in the optimal spot. Time's running out. I'm at 10 seconds, so I know I have to mirror the graveyard, mirror graveyard. And he's completely abandoned the right side now too. But unfortunately my Inferno Dragon dies. And I get the last hit with the graveyard. So here is like a really unusual match where it's okay to go for the tie, but I was able to capitalize on his mistakes. And sometimes that's all what it is. Your opponent may mirror everything that you do in the matchup. And you throw down a lumberjack, they throw down a lumberjack. You mirror it, they mirror it, etc. So you just have to counterplay on their mistakes in order to get a win where your win condition is easily counterable like it was in this match. So here's the final match for my 12 wins. I found something actually very useful when doing this challenge. I found out that if there are a limited number of spells that can't take care of your ranged units, that ranged units are really, really good in this game mode, and they're hard to be dealt with. Like spear goblins are really good now, especially if there's no zap counter. So in this match, I know that my win condition is going to be Lava Hound, followed by probably ranged units countering his, and also to make sure that I have my cannon for his battle ram. Here my opponent plays the cannon for some reason, try and stop my knight, but it's not going to be able to stand up against a battle ram charge now. So if I get my Lava Hound going, I'm able to send in my battle ram, and that's going to be able to connect, especially once his ranged units are able to lock onto my Lava Hound, such as his Dark Goblin, his Spear Goblins. So I'm just waiting for that, waiting for him to play down his ranged units to take out my Lava Hound. So he plays one, he plays the second one, and then I put down my Battle Ram, and with no cannon in rotation with enough elixir, I'm able to kill off his ranged units, able to defend my side and get significant damage on his side. Here he plays a good tornado to take out most of my units, but I was able to get way more damage off. So I'm just saving my cannon, gonna try and get some chip damage here with some near spear goblins. And he does a pretty good Lava Hound. He's able to stop a lot of it. He's probably going to try and do the push that I did where I Lava Hound and Battle Ram, but I've got the counter in the cannon, going to play that to be able to pull both the Lava Hound and the Battle Ram, and then use my Dark Goblin to take out the rest of those barbarians, and then put some Spear Goblins down and try and take out as much of his ranged units as I can here with a well-placed tornado, with my Spear Goblins, with my Knights, and my Dark Goblin. Now the tornado doesn't actually take out the Dark Goblin, which is significant here. He's able to get 1, 2, 3 extra shots off. So just need to cycle back to the win condition, put down the counters for these guys, and there's really no hope that he has at this point. So in a challenge where there isn't spell counters for the ranged unit and you have a tank, it is really good to have a lot of ranged units in the back, especially like Dark Goblin, Mirror Dark Goblin, which I unfortunately didn't do in this matchup. I did Spear Goblins, but I should have done Dark Goblin, Mirror Dark Goblin instead of Mirror Spear Goblins. But that's able to get me the win. So I've been in matches where it was like a tank such as a giant with 3 musketeers, and there is no counter for the 3 musketeers, so you try and push with your giant as quickly as can. Try and put it not near the back, more near your tower, so you can put the 3 musketeers at it with it at the bridge, and then you're able to take out any defense they may try and throw at you, unless they have something like a hard counter like a Valkyrie or something like that. But Stacking the ranged units is really good against non-spell matches, and this was able to get me my 12th win. So guys, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that these tips will be able to get you your 12 wins if you choose to spend the hefty price of 100 gems, which I hope Supercell will change at some point, so players can, especially the free-to-play players, will have more fun with these new game modes versus just doing a daily practice of them and only getting a small taste of what it's like. It was a pretty fun game mode. I really wish they would take away the 100 gem. If you have to lower the rewards, lower the rewards. Lower the rewards and put it at 10 gems if you have to, because 10 gems is not too steep of a price for a free-to-play player, especially when you can get at any given day 20 gems free in the shop. So I hope Supercell is learning from this. I hope they are looking at the community response and listening to the concerns that are going out there, the reasonable concerns that are out there, and they'll be able to do something for it for all the players out there. So once again, like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you want to see in the future. I will continue to do these challenge videos. I may do another video this weekend concerning the community and Supercell, and kind of some things the community wants to see happen with the game as a result of this latest update and the latest course of action that Supercell has taken in reducing the amount of currency that everybody is getting and their economy. So once again, this is JMAX, and happy clashing.